On the morning of February 22, 2026, Mexico plunged into unprecedented chaos, just months before hosting matches of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. In Guadalajara, the epicenter of the violence, passengers at the Miguel Hidalgo y Costilla International Airport ran desperately amid reports of nearby shootings and explosions. Foreign tourists, including Americans and Canadians, were stranded in hotels, while flights were canceled en masse. Authorities issued red code alerts, recommending that the population remain at home, and the Mexican army was mobilized to restore order. This wave of terror was not an isolated event, but a coordinated retaliation by the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, one of the most powerful and violent criminal organizations in the world, following the death of its supreme leader, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho. Mexico, already marked by decades of war against drug trafficking, was now facing one of the most critical moments in its recent history. With the World Cup approaching, and with Guadalajara set to host 4 matches including group stage games, the instability raised international concerns about the safety of players, fans, and teams. FIFA, in an official statement, said it was closely monitoring the situation and working with Mexican authorities to ensure robust security protocols. But, as security experts warn, the death of a leader like El Mencho can trigger a violent succession, with internal fragmentation within the cartel and territorial disputes that could extend until June 2026, the date of the tournament. In this video, I will discuss the operation that resulted in the death of El Mencho and the chaos that took hold in Mexico afterward. The operation that led to El Mencho's death took place in the municipality of Tapalpa, in the state of Jalisco, the heart of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel's empire. Tapalpa, a small mountain town known for its idyllic landscapes and rural tourism, turned into a battlefield when Mexican special forces, supported by United States intelligence, surrounded a fortified property where the drug lord was hiding. According to the Mexican Ministry of Defense, the action was launched by the Secretariat of National Defense, with the participation of the National Guard and the Air Force. Elite troops, including airborne units, blocked the perimeter, facing fierce resistance from El Mencho's personal guard, equipped with high-caliber weapons, armored vehicles, and even anti-aircraft rocket launchers. The firefight lasted for hours, resulting in dozens of casualties. El Mencho was critically wounded and captured alive, but died during air transport to Mexico City due to blood loss. In addition to him, 6 cartel members were killed at the scene, and authorities seized an arsenal that included assault rifles, grenades, and armed drones, evidence of the military sophistication of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. The Secretary of Security, Omar Garcia Harfuch, confirmed nearly 70 deaths in total. 25 National Guard members, 30 criminals, and innocent civilians caught in the crossfire. It was a high-risk operation, but necessary to dismantle a global threat, Harfuch stated at a press conference. The role of the United States was crucial, but not direct. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt confirmed that American agencies, including the CIA and the DEA, provided complementary intelligence to locate El Mencho. A new task force led by the Pentagon, the Joint Interagency Task Force Counter-Cartel, mapped cartel networks on both sides of the border, identifying hideouts and escape routes. President Donald Trump, who had been pressuring Mexico to take action against cartels under the threat of unilateral military intervention, praised the operation as a major development. The narco-terrorists who send deadly drugs into our territory will face the wrath of justice, Trump said in a post on X. This collaboration reflects the tension in bilateral relations. Trump designated 6 Mexican cartels, including the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, as foreign terrorist organizations in February 2025, intensifying pressure on Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. But who was El Mencho and how did he become the world's biggest drug trafficker? Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes was born on July 17, 1966, in Aguililla, a rural region plagued by poverty and cartel influence. The son of avocado farmers, El Mencho entered the criminal world at a young age, protecting illegal marijuana plantations. He emigrated to the United States as a teenager, where he was arrested for drug trafficking in 1994, served his sentence, and was deported in 1997. Back in Mexico, he joined the Milenio Cartel, marrying Rosalinda González Valencia, sister of the founders of the group Los Quines, an alliance that solidified his position. In the 1990s, El Mencho founded the group Los Matazetas, an armed wing to fight the rival Los Zetas cartel, known for its brutal tactics. In 2010, after the death of Ignacio Coronel Villarreal, a capo of the Sinaloa cartel, El Mencho broke with Milenio and created the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, initially as a faction allied with Sinaloa. Under his leadership, the cartel expanded rapidly, controlling ports such as Manzanillo and Lázaro Cárdenas to import chemical precursors from China and export synthetic drugs. El Mencho was known for his iron discipline. He banned friendships among soldiers to prevent betrayals and imposed extreme punishments, such as forced cannibalism. His empire specialized in fentanyl, a synthetic drug 50 times more potent than heroin, causing an overdose crisis in the United States. More than 100,000 deaths annually, according to the CDC. The DEA considered him the most wanted criminal in the world, with a $15 million reward. His capture was a priority for Washington, which viewed the Jalisco New Generation Cartel as responsible for 80% of the illegal fentanyl in the United States. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel emerged in 2009 as one of the offshoots of the Milenio Cartel after the death of Ignacio Coronel Villarreal. Initially called Mata Zetas, the group positioned itself as vigilantes against Los Zetas, but quickly evolved into a machine of violence and profit. In 6 months, it controlled smuggling networks from coast to coast, becoming, by 2012, one of the organizations with the greatest operational capacity in Mexico. Under El Mencho, the cartel adopted a franchise model. It affiliated smaller local groups, expanding to more than 40 countries, including the United States, Australia, China, and Southeast Asia. In addition to drug trafficking, its operations also include extortion, fuel theft, illegal mining, and migrant trafficking. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel is a pioneer in synthetic drugs, importing precursors from China and producing them in clandestine laboratories in Jalisco and Michoacán. By 2025, the cartel was generating billions in profits, financing military-grade arsenals, explosive drones, armored vehicles, and cyber attacks. Its most notorious attacks include the downing of a military helicopter in 2015 and the assassination of journalists and politicians. The cartel operates in nearly every Mexican state with a strong presence in Jalisco, Michoacán, Guanajuato, Guerrero, Puebla, Baja California, and Tamaulipas. Its rivalry with the Sinaloa cartel intensified territorial wars, contributing to 30,000 homicides annually in Mexico. The terrorist designation by the United States in 2025 enabled financial sanctions, freezing assets of leaders such as El Mencho. Minutes after the confirmation of El Mencho's death, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel launched an unprecedented retaliation. In Jalisco, vehicles were set on fire on strategic highways, creating narco-blockades, fire barriers that paralyzed traffic. In Guadalajara, rumors of armed men at the airport caused panic, with nearby gunfire forcing the cancellation of flights. Viral videos on social media show cartel members setting buses, stores, and banks on fire, shouting "Viva El Mencho!" The violence spread to more than 20 states. In Michoacán, clashes killed 25 National Guard members. In Guanajuato, a prison faced a rescue attempt that resulted in 1 death. In Puebla and Baja California, supermarkets were looted. In Puerto Vallarta, tourists were advised to shelter in hotels, while Cancún saw shootings in tourist zones. The governor of Jalisco, Pablo Lemus Navarro, declared a red code suspending public transportation and classes. 4 professional football matches were canceled, with athletes fleeing stadiums under threat. By February 24th, the death toll had reached 75, including innocent civilians. The United States Embassy in Mexico issued alerts advising citizens to avoid non-essential travel, highlighting the risk of random attacks. This wave reflects a historical pattern. After the capture of Joaquin Guzman, the Sinaloa cartel fragmented, leading to years of violence. Analysts predict that the Jalisco New Generation Cartel may enter an internal war, with rivals like Sinaloa invading territories. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel is the main culprit behind the fentanyl epidemic in the United States, a crisis that has killed more than 1 million people since 1999. Produced in Mexican laboratories with Chinese precursors, fentanyl is mixed with heroin and fake pills, causing mass overdoses. In 2025, the DEA seized 21,900 pounds of fentanyl at the southern border, 80% linked to the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. The cartel uses maritime and land routes, with 90% passing through passenger vehicles at ports of entry. The administration of Donald Trump pressured Mexico with tariffs and military threats, designating the cartel as a terrorist organization. Claudia Sheinbaum responded by extraditing 92 traffickers since 2025, but critics say that social policies, such as hugs, not bullets, fail to combat the root causes. Fentanyl not only enriches cartels, but also corrupts institutions. Politicians and police officers are bribed, perpetuating the violence. With El Mencho dead, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel enters a period of instability. Analysts identify 5 main candidates: Juan Carlos Valencia Gonzalez, El Mencho's stepson, seen as the natural successor. Leader of the armed wing Grupo Elite, with a $5 million reward offered by the DEA. His family lineage guarantees loyalty, but he lacks charisma. Audius Flores Silva, a violent enforcer who controls key routes in Jalisco. Known for authoritarianism, he may prioritize military expansion, but his brutality risks alliances. Hugo Gonzalo Mendoza Gaitan, a financial operator who manages money laundering and logistics. Skilled in negotiations, he could stabilize the cartel economically. Ricardo Ruiz Velasco, an operator in Puerto Vallarta, focused on maritime trafficking. Discreet but influential in coastal plazas. Heraclio Guerrero Martinez, a veteran who handles fentanyl production in Michoacán. His technical experience is vital, but his advanced age may limit him. Others, such as El Mencho's daughter, Jessica Johanna Oseguera Gonzalez, known as La Negra, manage legal businesses but are now imprisoned. The succession could lead to the balkanization of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, with rival factions fighting over fentanyl routes, increasing urban homicides. President Claudia Sheinbaum, elected in 2024 as the successor to Andrés Manuel López Obrador, inherited chronic violence. Her approach, inspired by the hugs, not bullets strategy, emphasizes social policies to pull young people away from crime, investing in education and jobs. In November 2025, she criticized the war on drugs as lawless and authoritarian, arguing that it increased homicides without results. The state should not combat violence with more violence, she said. Despite this, Sheinbaum intensified cooperation with the United States, extraditing traffickers and launching the Plan Michoacán with 1,000 special troops. After El Mencho, she mobilized 9,500 soldiers, promising peace and normality. Critics, such as right-wing opponents, accuse her of leniency, advocating a hardline approach. Donald Trump pressures her, threatening intervention, but Sheinbaum rejects it, defending sovereignty. While Mexico struggles, El Salvador under Nayib Bukele offers a contrast. In 2022, after a spike in violence, Bukele declared a war on gangs, suspending constitutional rights and arresting 80,000 alleged members of MS-13 and Barrio 18. The homicide rate fell from 106 per 100,000 in 2015 to 1.9 in 2024, transforming the country from one of the most violent to one of the safest. Bukele criticizes social approaches. These criminals have already graduated from the University of Crime. This is not the time for school, but for state force. His regime built mega prisons such as the Sicat, with 40,000 inmates. Critics, including NGOs, accuse human rights violations, arbitrary detentions, torture, and democratic erosion. Nayib Bukele responds, "If a state does not defeat crime, it is complicit." For Mexico, adopting the Bukele model would be challenging. Cartels are more heavily armed and globalized than Salvadoran gangs. With Guadalajara hosting matches, the post-El Mencho violence raises alarms. FIFA is monitoring, but experts like Nathan Jones warn fragmentation of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel could destabilize Jalisco before the tournament. Violence could affect tourism, with cancellations and international travel alerts. Mexico plans to reinforce security, but chaos similar to 2019 after the capture of Ovidio Guzman Lopez is likely. The death of El Mencho tests the United States-Mexico partnership. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel, even without El Mencho, remains a global threat. Mexico needs deep reforms that people can actually feel in their daily lives, rooting out corruption, strengthening intelligence work, and creating real opportunities so young people don't see crime as their only path. Without that, the cycle of violence will keep repeating, claiming more lives and eroding the country's image abroad. The killing of El Mencho may be a tactical win, but it could also open the door to a longer and more unpredictable conflict. With the World Cup approaching, Mexico faces a global test to show it can restore stability or risk the world watching as chaos takes hold.